Okay, it's 9:30 and I am calling the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. I knew Alice was going to be out of town and I don't know if Maggie's going to make it or not. So let's start with just a moment of silence to gather our thoughts. And turn off our phones. Okay. Our first order of business is going to be the adoption of the agenda. And I had one thing I needed to add I didn't get sent because it didn't go on until last night. And one of them is it's the update on Cottagers meeting. They're meeting this morning. Am I correct on that?
Yes. And
Okay.
we had,
I do have it on the agenda. I guess I should wait
Yeah.
until we get there.
yes,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be the 22nd of July, but
Okay.
I have requested that they have, and I will follow up, that they would have a table set up for the land care
Okay.
fair before, and tree board and native plant sale brochures, and having Bill Seaman have a PowerPoint about the Flat Creek
Okay.
projects and the stream team and the evaluation. And I'm not real sure. I was here for that presentation for the Land of the Sky
Yeah.
with the.
I'll get back to
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing, I'm going to remove the business under other because we are woefully unprepared to present a theme song. Okay, so those two changes. Does anybody have anything else they want to add or subtract to the minutes? Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. There's only 3 of us, folks.
I have mine on my phone.
Okay. But I need it. I need. Oh, thank you, Brad. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, our next order of business is to approve the minutes from May 25th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Everybody should have gotten them ahead. Oh, you're on there, Brad. I'm sorry. I can't read. Okay. If there are no corrections to the minutes, I will entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So move.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okie doke. We have no members of the public present. Okay, let's move on to reports. What do we have from Public Works, Mr. Wiggs? Anything?
Barry is actually right now working with somebody up in town about a bear problem, so he'll be here shortly, I hope.
Okay.
If he has anything else to add other than this, he can. But it looks to me like the plaque for the Bannermans will be installed this week. Excuse me, this week.
Okay.
It's ready to go. We just need to get it in the ground.
Yeah.
We're going to be sending out permission forms for kudzu removal on private properties around town.
Okay.
And we have compiled a list of ivy locations.
You have another list? Okay.
I think we've got about 12 areas
Okay.
picked out.
Yeah.
That seem to be pretty good and accessible for everybody. So.
Okay, great. Do you have anything, Alex? Obviously he does.
I do not.
Oh. You did that on purpose.
Could I ask Daniel a quick question? Did you say removal of helping homeowners with the kudzu?
Yes, so we have, we've got several areas that are on private property that we try to send out a permission
Yeah.
slip, kind of letting them know that we're looking to try to remove that from the
Excellent.
town.
Yeah.
Good.
And we're hoping everybody is on board.
Excellent.
Better, I am. Okay.
I have a question about the ivy removal. Just using my place as an example, but it's not the only one. We're by a creek, and there's a lot of town property adjacent to us in that way, and ivy is an issue in that whole area in general. And some of it's on town property, and some of it's on private property. So, is there a process to notify you about that, and how do we make those decisions?
I would assume that if you have an area of town property close to you and there is an ivy issue, I would assume you could contact Barry, and he can relay that message to me, and we can try to come up with a time that I can get out there and work on it. That was one of the things we ran into. It's hard. It's a lot of the ivy is on private property. So we're having in the sense of the work days, it's hard to find places that everybody can kind of get to, and you're not off down the bank. So these areas of are problematic areas in our town right of ways would probably be left up to me to try to take care of. So if you contact Barry and leave a message, we can put it on the board. Our list of, we have a big whiteboard that we have lists of things to do, and we can just add it to that. And I try to knock out those small projects as I can.
Yeah, some of them are small and some of them are not so small, and I'm not really saying a request to do my area or
Sure.
something like that, but I just using an example. There's property across Quillen from where we are that I don't know if that's private property.
It's a private lot.
It
There's
is.
some right of way in there. Yeah, but I'm with you on that.
And it's really gotten bad there. It's less of an issue on this side of the creek. But I think obviously you need to assess each area for where the lines are and severity of the issues and stuff like that. So
And that's the
it'd be
reason.
good to be able to somehow let people know what the process might be for making those kinds of decisions.
Sure. Maybe we can come up with an idea for contacting us and, just letting us know
Yeah.
that
And
there's an
then,
issue.
I would say that the Land Care Committee has had a lot of people with environmental concerns about that, and we have active people who are wanting to work, and Land Care would be happy to be supportive of that, and even with some of the brochures or information to give out to what to do, because an invasive plant is also those knotweeds and some kind of, we call the garlic stuff that's up there by Ellen Dean and Patty Powell.
yeah.
So I know that you're cutting it or mowing it, but the roots need to be pulled, or whatever you can put on them to kill them. But we'd be happy to help and get a volunteer group to work with that.
All right.
Chemicals are put on in the dead of night.
What was that?
We put chemicals on in the dead of night so
Oh.
nobody sees you.
Well, that's really what the citizens are wanting more of working together in their different neighborhoods and cooperating together, like Brad is saying.
Yeah.
And that's where our focus would be with ivy, any of those invasive plants. And so that's under a concern for the Land Care.
Well, one follow-up from our Ivy League get-together that I have not done like I had hoped I would is to come up with a handout for for property owners to
Yeah.
be able to handle know what they need to do to handle the ivy on their property and get it under control.
Yeah, and I know that you were doing it because they were the trees on Virginia Road, and that's a tree
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
And then there's just all this ground cover that then finds its way all over the place.
Yeah. And since it's just rained, it's a good time to pull. So, okay. Um, we did have a really good time and very productive Ivy League get together. We all look like mountain people by the time we got our pictures taken. But it's like, who are those people? I hope they don't live next door to me.
That was a
You
great,
know,
that was a great picture.
I know, and it was great fun. And we did have some young people who were happy to be mountain goats and crawl up and down that bank, and it was just amazing what the piece of ivy stem that you took off after everybody left was putting everything together. Um, and I have under here, we're going to set up another one. And Daniel touched on, we do have the plaque for the Bannerman tree. Talked to Jane Walker. She brought it by the house, and it's going to be really good. Um, and I was trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. That will not be covered under here. So, okay. Let's move on to new business. And let's see, Brad, this is the report on the chestnut planting chat that we didn't get to hear last time. So
Okay.
we know
yes.
you're very well prepared.
So my apologies for missing last time. My excuse is I don't have one. Just one of those things. So chestnut chat. Sure.
They need a copy.
Whatever. I have several copies here. So. Yeah. I made extras.
Yeah.
I had a larger group in mind, and I made extras beyond that.
Yeah.
So
Well, you never know
there's
who's going to show up.
plenty. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about chestnut chat in general, and then a little bit about the particular chat that was referenced for last month. The thing that I've just passed out is a list of the chats that have happened up until present, and so that if you wanted to go on to the email that's to the website that's listed on the page, the Chestnut Chat series as a resource, this is what you would find. So if there's topics that are in there that you're interested in, you can zero in on which one to look at. There is a lot of information there. As they get things posted, along with it on the same page, there's links to various resources that are relevant to that topic. And so the little things expand, and then there's more things to click on. So it can be a lot of fun and you get lost in there. So this is it. We have just done the 25th chat, which was this month, and actually that one has not yet been posted on there. It takes a week or maybe a little more to actually get it posted onto the website, but it's a coming attraction. They are very worthwhile. They can be, I'll say, nerdy. A lot of, because there's scientific types that are doing it, and I really love that. Often it's above me a bit, but if you hang in there and listen, there's a lot to learn there. So I really think it's a very worthwhile thing to be doing, and I'm going to be trying to do it myself regularly. Okay, so my report at this point, though, is about. Okay, let's see. Okay. Before I get to that, this is another piece of paper. It's the tree locator form, just to serve as a reminder. One of the chats is about enlisting people to locate chestnut trees and to notify them. Notifying them includes sending a leaf and a piece of tree, and it's mailing things into them because they want to do maybe even genetic level identifying of what it is you sent them. But you also need to know exactly where that tree is located when you do find it. So this just is sort of as a reminder, and I think I'm going to try to come back at some future time and talk about that particular topic as something we can make as a project. Okay, so the chat that wanted to talk about a little bit here is number 24 on the list, and it's the site selection and planting of American chestnut trees, with emphasis on site selection. It was so dense in there. It just, I mean, even to listen to it through is, to me, kind of overwhelming at times. And she didn't really get into the planting so much as she did the site selection part of it. She is Sarah Fitzsimmons, who is the Director of Restoration, and she's at the North Central Science Coordinator, and she's a Regional Science Coordinator Supervisor. She has worked for the Chestnut Foundation since 2003. When she was assisting the chestnut growers and researchers throughout the Appalachians. Currently, she is, she has a master's degree from Duke. Currently, she is connected with the university. It's in Pennsylvania, and I'm not even seeing the university's name. Oh, Penn State University. Where she's the director of restoration, really, for the entire chestnut organization. And there's a lot of activity that goes on up there. So she's one of the key players, and it involves a lot of the science of what to do, as you'll appreciate a little bit as I go on. But anyway, she had a lot to say, and I had listened to it 3 times, and I'm still scratching the surface of what she did then. Provides resources like websites that you can go to use to get a bird's eye view of the area that you're thinking about, and you click a button and it'll show you the different soil types that are there. So you can take all of Montreat and break it down into smaller areas. So it's a great starting place for beginning to think about, where am I going to plant trees. I did a little bit of that for Montreat, and I learned that there is a soil type called chestnut. So
There's a what?
there's a soil type called chestnuts.
Oh.
But anyway, that's one resource. There's a bunch of things that she provided there that could be very useful to us as we go about trying to figure out where to place trees as they come to us, or when we're thinking about getting them. Let me see. Sorry, I'm not real organized here. So if you're going to plant, okay, so a lot of the focus from her point of view has been on larger areas. If you're thinking about, you want to plant an orchard, you want to plant a forest, where you plant a whole bunch of trees because you're trying to see which ones are going to survive and stuff like that. There's that kind of perspective on things from her level. You know, are not likely, I don't think, to be planting an orchard. You know,
The slitters would take it up.
but it would still be very useful. One thing, I still am not retaining the name, but our region has a new science coordinator, and that's the person that would be working very closely with us when we get to the point where we really want to seriously talk about, we want to start planting a whole bunch of chestnut trees. Um, and I think that they do offer a lot of expertise in doing that. So we don't have to retain all of this information, but I think it's good to know what it is as we start thinking about how do we proceed.
Find it.
Well, there was a workshop on using drones to locate trees. Is that,
That's not related to this. I mean,
I
it's
was not related to
immediate.
chestnut? Oh, okay.
No, it's about chestnuts. It's just not on. It's not part of this topic.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I don't
But
know
yeah.
if we can do that or not. Or do we- The college I know.
well, since it's mentioned that, okay, so it's using drones as a tool for locating and pollinating trees.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, you could
Yeah.
do that. So
Did you say you had checked, like you had looked at the map over Montreat of soil conditions and stuff?
a little bit. I was
That's
just
pretty cool.
yeah,
I'm
you
interested
could do
in
that.
seeing that as well.
Uh, well, if you go to this episode, number 24, you'll find resources for some of the things that she used. It's all there, either on the PowerPoint that she was using, or as a link that's listed below. So, like I say, it's resource rich. So if you're going to be planting chestnut trees, it's good to give them a good chance to survive. So you want to be thoughtful about picking your sites. And this talk was is a bit about what to think about. Um, one of the first things that's important is site needs to be well drained. Uh, Chestnuts need plenty of moisture, but they don't like wet feet. So so when you get down to it, sandy loam is the general topic of probably the best kind of soil to put in. It needs to be somewhat rich, but it needs to have enough sand in it. There's a thing called the high saturated hydraulic conductivity, which means that uh, when water comes in, it moves on through. You know, retaining not enough to nurture the tree, but not drowned it. There's perk tests that you can do to determine that. And it's the size of the particles that are involved. And exactly, is it gravel? Is it sand? Is it loam? Is it clay? Those are basically those are gradually smaller particles. Clay being so small that they tend to hold the water rather than let it pass through. Another factor that's important is pH. Um, there's a fairly broad range of pH between 4.5 and 6.5 that are optimal, with 5.5 right in the middle being the kind of the best. Um, she says repeatedly in the presentation that all of these are, it's not that the trees aren't found outside of the parameters that she mentions. It's just these are the best. The best. So there's one little graphic that's there that takes like 3 different things and it provides a picture what type of soils are fit all of those. So for on the pH, for example, the 4.5 to 6.5 is two sides of the box. Other factors make it at the top and the bottom of the box. So what you're trying to do is kind of like hit the bullseye in the middle. One thing to do, as you begin to look around, is what species are around. Because another good indicator uh, for for chestnuts is what are things already growing there, plants that like the same kind of soil. So, for example, mountain laurel, blueberries, rhododendron. Um, sounds familiar. Sounds like my yard. You know, so there's a lot of things to do. There's another factor is the depth, the vertical dimensions of the soil that you're putting it into. You want a nice thick level of top duff, I think they're saying, organic layer. Um, then as you go down, other layers. There's like where the loam would be, and then you're getting down further into where the clay might be, and at some point you're going to get to an impermeable um, base rock layer, and so the total depth of what's there is a factor. Um, down to bedrock. Um, the woman Sarah Fitzsimmons was just saying, she's in Pennsylvania and she hikes a lot, and she said, so you might, if you do that, you're familiar with the term Rocksylvania. Your feet and ankles know it after a while. So, but there are chestnuts amongst the Pennsylvania rocky soils, and we never saw any rocks here in Montreat. But they did well. So it's not that it was just a factor to consider when you're planting and how your trees are going to do. The closer you hit that bullseye, the happier the tree is going to be. But it doesn't mean you don't necessarily have that you're able to plant. Um, so depth to bedrock. There's figures that are mentioned. I don't think we need to try to remember those right now. I already mentioned particle size.
Is a lot, if we wanted to go in and look, is this all on one of the resources from the website?
There's, yeah, so there's the presentation itself.
Yeah.
Um, then there are graphics within that. There's her PowerPoint that shows some of these things I've been mentioning, and you can look at that without listening. Um, so
Oh, good. So it'd be available to the public. Everything you've covered
Yes.
will be okay. Good.
it's all there for anybody to look at.
Okay.
The range on, say, sand, for example, 25 to 75% sand is the range that works for chestnut, which is a pretty broad range.
Yeah.
So, ability to hold nutrients and ability to hold moisture. There's a thing called, sometimes she calls it KSAT. It's a cation exchange capacity.
ability for the soil to move nutrients.
Cool. You get an A for it.
I studied that for a long time on my arborist.
Yes,
And of course,
Okay.
in previous
Yeah.
years at landscape, I mean, that's an important factor.
So the one thing that I get out of this as we think about, start thinking about where to put trees, is the importance to do some study. And soil analysis is another thing. And I understand that y'all have kits for that.
We do, and we actually took soil samples for all of the locations that we put our chestnut trees to make sure that we were in the right range. And we do have soil sample packets that we're putting together for the public to be able to come if they wanted to plant a chestnut or any other type
Yeah.
of
Anything,
tree
yeah.
on their property.
So the exchange, the what do you call it? The organization that has those kits.
The extension agency,
Extension,
North Carolina
yeah.
Agricultural.
Yeah.
The North Carolina Agricultural Extension Agencies.
Yeah, so they have those kits available too, and at certain times of the year, they offer the service for free, and at other times, they have to charge some, but,
Yeah, on the kits, on the packets that we have, they actually have the dates labeled. And, generally it's when the farmers aren't trying to send, all their agricultural samples in to the state, is when it's free. Most of the time, if you're trying to send in samples during a busy agricultural time, that's when it's like $4 or something. It's super cheap, but well worth it.
The nice thing about the packets is everything's written on the box. Yeah, gives you everything you need to know.
so it's a resource for us, and it's a resource for private property owners that might be interested in figuring things out. And I think that's part of the guidance that we could be, I think one of the things we need to be thinking about is knowing a little bit about how this is done, and we need to be able to use it ourselves, but also to provide guidance to people, encouraging them to plant trees. So just something to think about. So I think I could probably just stop at this point. It gives you an idea what's there. To do a bang up job on siting trees, it's a fairly complicated thing, but the good news is that we would have lots of help, and we have at least one expert among us.
Yeah.
Great. And I know we have 10 trees from our anonymous donor that we've got to get them. We have to extend the pot because the pots are not deep enough for the root system because those little puppies are growing, and which is a good thing. But I think under the chestnut event, I want to talk about a thought I've had about getting plants in and tracking them and all of that sort of thing. Okay, so we'll make sure. Anyway, I'll figure out what all we want to put on the our under the tree board on the website. Maybe we can put that link to the for the chestnut chats for people who are interested. Okay, thank you, Brad. Cottagers meeting. Gracie's the. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, just at the town hall meeting the other night, one of the public person came up and said that she had joined the American Chestnut
Yeah.
Federation. And of course, it's Asheville is its location.
Okay.
I think if we advertise, I don't know why I didn't ask her, but it was interesting that she wanted to do it. Or
Yeah.
that she did it.
Yeah.
And having an application or the note, even if it's a monthly, not a minute, but
Yeah,
an
we could-
advertisement of joining, and that might even begin to get a group of public people from the, a ground roots movement of learning about chestnuts and talking
Yeah.
about it.
Because we can certainly, I'll be happy to try and draft an article we could do for Montreat Minute. We could provide a link to the American Chestnut
And
Foundation.
how to join and to support it. And it's possible that I've not been to that office.
Yeah, I've never been to the office either because,
Oh.
well, for starters, I got interested during COVID and nobody was there. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
what about the cottagers?
Okay, let me
So-
write that
Oh,
down.
go ahead, Brad wanted to add something.
No, it could wait till later.
Okay,
Um,
about the cottagers, did you say?
Treatment, yeah. Can you tell us what you might know about cottagers meeting?
Well, they have not, as a board, met because of COVID, nor have they had a lot of communication out. But Hugh Alexander is now the new treasurer, and he is attending a board meeting at the conference center. And I think Martha Sloan is the representative from the conference center. Uh, there is a planned meeting, and I think he said he was going to confirm it, but July 22nd. In the bylaws of the Montreat Cottagers, you're to have 2 meetings a year. The dues are, I think it's still 30. I'm not sure, but they
It's either
have,
25 or 30.
it is a time where you see the citizens of people that own homes, and attendance is fairly high in the July time because that's when a lot of summer people come and they look forward to it. So the cottagers have, in the past, like 4 years ago, I started the land care, as president of the cottagers, I started a land care fair, and that was set up with tables all around the room, with all the 8 entities presenting what they had in literature. But in particular, I know that Jean Norris with the native plant sale brochure would be a key person to be sure we set up a table for that, as well as the Firewise, and I talked with Nancy Midget, and any kind of Bearwise materials. So land care can take care of it, and the tree board can be represented, and maybe that's also a place where we can advertise the chestnut
Mhm.
literature, or even the site, or give out something that is in their hands. I don't like to give out a lot of papers. I mean, but that's the place where if people are interested, they come to you. You don't just, pass them up and down the aisles there. Uh, but also Bill Seaman is going to be given a very a PowerPoint similar to the one that he did when you were able to help us out at the town hall, the land care meeting about Flat Creek and its projects. So the tree board can be represented, and if you have a tree board banner, that's helpful to know who you are. But I'd be happy to help Ann with that and
Okay.
set that up with that. You don't have to set it up because you'll be doing the directories with me.
I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do.
Okay, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'd be happy to have the tree.
Okay.
I'd be happy to set up the tree board.
Well, what I'll do, when we find out a date,
It is. He thinks it's July 22nd.
okay, but when they finally make the decision, because I never believe anything until I see it in writing,
I got you.
I'll notify all the board, because what I want to do is definitely have a table there, and we can talk about our chestnut event, which we're getting ready to discuss. And especially if you guys are going to do the hike in August, if you're going to be able to do the site visit to the farm, we can get signatures for that. People signing up who might be interested in it. But I think we can have some good information. There's more, Arbor Days put out more information on trees and just good basic stuff that are actually for the town, that we have in town. Some of them are not in this part of the country. So we can come up with lots of good stuff. I still have the boards, and I have the big map, and our sign, even though we don't have a banner. I do have a sign we can use for display. So we'll get together, and I want to make sure I would like as many people from the tree board as possible to be there,
Yeah.
because we need to have a good presence.
Yeah.
And Grace and I cannot be running back and forth between 2 tables,
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
explain things.
one thing I can encourage Ann to do is to have, even if it's a 2-minute or 1.5-minute announcement in that 15 minutes. If they give us 15 minutes for land care, that the tree board announcement could be made about what's available and what's coming up.
Yeah, I'll be happy to
And
do
that we
that,
can
yeah.
work out, and I can make sure now with the other, it doesn't have to be a Firewise this time. Last time it was
Yeah.
Firewise that presented, so it could be the Chestnut.
Yeah, we can do a little chestnut presentation.
Tony.
I know, Tony Chestnut.
We'll see.
Don't be surprised.
That will get their attention.
Apparently Ron was starting to go to sleep when you told me that, and he said, "What are you laughing at?" There's photos. So he shook his head. Okay, so we will definitely have a presence at the cottagers meeting, and I'll confirm that date, and we'll get that out to everybody. Okay, is there anything else that's new? Since our public works director is here and they've corralled a few bears up there.
Where were you, Barry? Where was the bear? Ooh. They
Under
what?
a home?
They did what? The bear did.
He has decided he was wanting to live under a deck of a house.
Oh my gosh.
So he wasn't at home when we were there, so
Yeah.
we're gonna try to take care of it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell. We had lunch with Jason Nance one day last week, and he was talking about how much bigger the bear population is because nobody was out last year. And I mean, we had somebody visit us after dinner one night, and normally we don't see anybody wander through the yard. And I poked my head out the door, and he just looked at me. And, I did get the camera going.
There was one down on Memphis in the creek next to the Williamson's house, having the best time flopping around in the water.
I've got to go return the rocks to their the location that he was flipping up rocks and all in the neighborhood. He would have had a picnic if he got to all of them in our yard. Okay, so do you have anything else from Public Works about? Okay,
No, ma'am, I do not.
okay, thanks, Barry. Okay, Maggie's not here, so we won't be discussing memorial tree policy. But Daniel and I talked about it roughly, and I think the main thing is there's no space. We cannot create space for a large number of memorial trees. So we'll try and, fortunately, the first request we've had was from the walkers for the bannerments. So we will just, the way I look at it is let's just downplay it and not just put it out there. And if anybody calls or contacts us, we'll just have to work on it on an individual basis and just see, try and encourage them to maybe a membership in American Chestnut Foundation or Hemlock Restoration or somebody like that in their memory. I know the conference center, I think I mentioned this last time, they encourage donations to the conference center as opposed to asking them to plant a tree. So until we hear anything that sounds better, I think that's what we need to do. Okay, Ivy League work day, and I think we just settled on Tuesday, July 13th. Yeah, I was going to go for the 6th, but I realized that's trash pickup day, and we need one of our road warriors with us to tell us that we're on private property or not. 13th. I don't know what I said, but 13 is the number. And we'll once again, I'll get a notice out and we'll do the same thing, meet down at the gate. And I'm guessing we probably just still need to keep moving up Virginia at this point. And I've had 2 emails from folks, and I know Angie had one, people who want to help us out. So I'll make sure that they get notified as well. And this is just a fluid group. Okay, our chestnut event. Brad and I had a little meeting out on our porch and talked about just solidifying some details. We're talking about, are we still talking about Labor Day weekend?
I'm of 2 minds on the dates.
Yeah, we're having trouble with dates.
You know, I have felt that at whatever time the cottagers meeting was happening, that would be a time when there might be more people who are not full-time residents, Bonnie, who might be in there. And I think that that's a group that it would be good to engage with. So I have some leaning still to having something that might attract the more interested amongst the cottagers to that. So I'm thinking along two lines. It would still be a small group, and it might be actually end up being just residents here, though not exclusively so.
Are we talking about the event or the site, the visit,
Or
the visit to the farm? Which one are we talking about?
the visit to the farm is what I'm talking about right
Okay,
now.
I'm talking about the event, not the visit. We've got two things going.
Yeah. So, but I'll just say that I'm thinking that the week around the 22nd might be a good time for the visit.
Okay.
As you're saying it, but we don't have to spend a lot of time on that right now.
And I think, I mean, I would, if we could get our act together, the 22nd might be a good time too. But what I'm envisioning, and Brad and I talked about, that's why I'm saying what we're doing two different, we're both thinking separate things, but to have a smaller version of the native plant sale, which is just the tree board and concentrate on chestnuts, work on chestnuts and have, things people can pick up and take home with them and have resources for folks about trees in general. And my thought is I want to use it for an Arbor Day celebration. And we were thinking about Labor Day because we know there'll be more people in town. That was one thought. But now things are, because we didn't know what was going on with cottagers when we met.
So I'm thinking, I think that's a good idea.
The trick is, can we get our act together and get American chestnut folks here?
That's what I've been working on.
Oh, yeah.
I had hoped to have more to report on that till today, but I don't.
Yeah. The trick is, if we did that, it would be before our next tree board meeting.
That's true.
That would be the biggest, that would be the trick with it.
Okay, well, I need to talk more with Samantha about what, from their point of view, what to do as far as visiting the site.
Okay.
But at any rate, I think the Arbor Day thing that you're talking about, definitely around Labor Day is a good time to do that. So I don't have a particular date in mind there, but
That Labor Day is the 6th, Monday
sounds
September.
right.
of September.
yeah.
Yeah, is the 6th. So I know Scottish Society is doing the Kirkin on Sunday the 5th, and they'll probably be doing something on the 4th. But I don't know. I mean, I would ideally, I would love to be able to do something on the 4th, maybe in the morning, and have tables for the American Chestnut Foundation. One of the things I would like to do is, I know we need to get these chestnut trees in the ground in Montreat. And one thought I had was like a chestnut steward, because I know there are certain things that if you've adopted a tree and put one in, you need to pay attention to a variety of things. And to have somebody, our scientist, the new person with the Chestnut Foundation, to come, and we can get people to sign up that could check the trees on a regular basis, make sure there's no ambrosia beetle or the deer are not getting to it or anything like that, who would be responsible for helping Public Works go out and take a look at it, or they can go when the Public Works people cannot go out and make sure the tree is doing fine. I don't see why we can't call on members of the community to do that. I think it would be, I think there are a lot of people who would be interested in doing that. So that's my thought, and be able to have a sign up for that. Because we talked about maybe a second trip, site visit to the farm, and have more people go. We want to have a small group do it the first thing, but be able to provide a venue too for American Chestnut Foundation to provide information and meet with members of the community and answer questions. I'd also like to have, maybe a couple people speak to the issue. Samantha, we know, has a new presentation. We're having trouble getting up with folks. Like they're the only ones who are not busy in the world. But
So would
that's my thought.
yeah, would it be feasible to invite her to do a presentation on the 4th if that's the day we're gonna do
Oh, the September 4th.
September 4th?
Yeah. I would, ideally, that's what I would love to have her come and
We can
have,
ask, yeah.
yeah. It's not
What's
go-
the Scottish Society event on the 4th?
They're probably going to have,
A dinner or something?
probably, an annual meeting.
At evening?
Yeah, and it's usually in the evening. They're having a meeting. That board is meeting Wednesday night. And I'm sure some decisions will be made. But that's why I'm thinking the morning or, late morning to have that we could do it without interfering with what I know is going on with them.
At the Moore Center and in the,
What?
At Moore Center?
Well, that's what we haven't discussed. I'm going to talk to Alex about that.
This
He's,
is a
he's
nice-
looking at me like, oh,
This is a nice
no.
place. This is a lovely place too.
I know. I have some thoughts. I don't know if I'll be allowed to exercise my thoughts. And I know it. And I know it's a holiday weekend. The bad news is it's probably going to involve one or two members of the Public Works Department. So,
Uh-oh.
I can bake. I can bribe you.
So, yeah, back to something you said a moment ago. And you and I talked about this the other day a little bit. To do a good job of kind of keeping our eyes on the trees that we're talking about, one of the things we need is a book. We want to be able to log each of the chestnut trees that gets planted, when they're planted, what the variety is, and then over time track on how that tree's doing, surviving, and whatnot. That's very valuable data for the Chestnut Foundation.
Yeah.
And the more that we can buy into that level of awareness about the trees, the better our relationship with the Chestnut Foundation will be.
Yeah.
Because it becomes much more of a mutual thing. One thing, I may have mentioned this before, but I just want to put it in your ears. One of the things the Chestnut Foundation has done is to do MOUs with different municipalities, organizations, agreements about the organization is interested in working with chestnuts, and they agree, and the Chestnut Foundation agrees to resource those efforts. I don't know what the parameters are.
Memorandum of understanding.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have recently done one with the Cherokee Nation, for example, but there's other different size organizations that they've worked with. I think we should look into what's involved with that and see if we want to make any recommendations about such a thing.
Okay.
It'd be another way of getting ourselves organized. When they have clarity about what the relationship would be, then I think they feel free to working. So.
Well, and it sounds like we're heading in a direction where that might be, very well be feasible and might be a way to go to be able to get more input. We just need to find out what all's involved, you know. I know we'll need a sign off from town council on that. No doubt in my mind. So,
Yeah.
I just share my thinking here. Um, Since we have town people in the room, I think a lot of this can be done without using too much of town resources. I'm thinking about engaging the cottagers and the residents in volunteer capacities to help with a lot of these things so that it would minimize the amount of town time and resources.
Sure.
But I think that's the optimal direction to go with this.
well, and one thought I just literally just had is that is one of the purposes of this board is to work with the town and be able to do some of the work that you guys don't really need to do. It'd be better done by the board in conjunction with the town. So I am volunteering the entire board and the boards in the future that, yeah,
I'd
I'm
like
all
to
for it.
speak to-
I'm all in. That's what we're about.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to what Brad and what you're suggesting. The memorandum of understandings comes with a lot of good support from any of the foundations. That was done in 2 or 3 different ways with land care, including the Kids in Park, because there was even a donation of free literature from the Kids in Park of maybe $5,000 to $8,000 of all those brochures. The signage of the kiosk was given, and so we are now in a membership partnership with them. So it's really a relationship with the Chestnut Foundation that we would be partners with, is what Brad is saying, I think.
Yeah.
And then they understand where they contributed, and then of course they maybe can give us literature as well as
And I think
not grants but
Yeah.
money.
we just need to find out what they are going to expect from the town.
Yeah,
From the town of Montreat. I mean, I'm all for it, but we need to find out what the other part is before we present it to council.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna ask Samantha if she can provide samples of
Okay.
MOUs that they've had with different organizations. I think that would be a good indicator.
And I think if nothing else, I would love to see this done no later than next year, if possible. If possible. I mean, I'll put that caveat
what?
on there.
What was that next year?
Possibly get this done, even 2022, put that on a goal for next year. Because we have a lot already this year and the years almost have gone. So, but anyway, Alex is being very quiet over there. So, okay, so we will work toward Labor Day weekend, but that'll need to be confirmed toward September 4th. I don't want to interrupt any already pre-made plans. You can see who I'm looking at. September 4, and then so much has been up in the air, we just haven't been able to pinpoint anything. So anyway, so we'll work toward that unless the governor says no in some capacity. So, and then work on displays and who to invite to have literature and that sort of thing. And I'll figure out how we can get land care involved. They can be our support group. It won't be an official land care event, but they're going to, we'd love to have you all as support and part of it.
Well, that's the purpose of them.
Yeah. And because you all
Because
let
we
us
support
do
and we're-
our thing.
Yeah,
at
and
plant
do the
thing.
communication.
Yeah. And I will get up with the mayor to get the proclamation done, which that's the one thing we have to get Tree City for comfort, recertified for 2021. So we have to have a proclamation. I suspect next year they'll be back to having both proclamation and an event. So anyway, that's future. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Okay. And I know I have to work out the details. Trust me, I'm not going into this.
Well, at some point, if we're doing our Arbor Day on the 4th,
Yeah,
We'll need
we're
to have
going
a
to try for the
proclamation.
4th of September. Yeah.
So the mayor would have a proclamation that day then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are 2 more meetings, town council meetings, where he can take care of that. I'll talk with him. The other thing I have, is there anything else on chestnuts?
Oh, just that, I was going to ask Daniel, would this form, would you go up on Shenandoah? Would this be, maybe you didn't see it, Barry, but is this one that we would use the location, since we know of that one up on Shenandoah?
I don't know if it's known to them, but
Is that what they would need to know about? Is that tree locator?
yeah. Did you
Yeah.
get the form?
There's no reason we can't copy. This is not copyrighted at all, is it? We can make copies without.
You have it, Daniel, you have a copy of this? It's available online.
I think Barry just got one too. I can't
Everybody's
believe that you
got
can
it.
register a tree.
So the tree board uses lots of paper. There's something wrong with that statement.
One project is finding chestnut trees. They all the time want people to find other chestnut trees. Part of this is the diversity of chestnut. And this last thing that I looked at was more about the transgenic thing that they're doing, but a whole focus of that is increasing the diversity.
Okay, we need to wrap up here. The other thing I have under old business is our planting plan update, and I'm hoping to really get focused and get that puppy whipped into shape August and September. I think we can get that just during those down moments during the summer, as we need to keep working through that. Okay, our next regular meeting is going to be on Tuesday, July 27, 9:30 here in Town Hall. We'll do basically what council's doing, is we're Zooming it. And if anybody has questions, they need to be in person. I like that, because it's easier to communicate, I do think anyway. And we'll worry about other later. So anything else that anybody feels need to come before the board? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
Just a question for Alex. Have we had any people looking online at this meeting?
We did have one.
I'd just like to make a note of that. So.
Okay, if there are no other questions or concerns, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. All right. All in favor? All righty. Thank you, folks. I can turn off the mic.